What is a challenge of this? My dreams are shattered away.
आजा आजा याद मना कर सबको। रोशन में मेरी क्लास है, क्या हुआ? हाँ मेरे को नहीं पता, अभी रुक जाओ। रोशन मैं बिजी हूँ अभी, इसको ट्यूशन पे छोड़ो।
My days are challenge of this. My dreams are shattered away. My success is my handwriting. My success is my handwriting. My success is my handwriting. My success is my handwriting.
So, very good evening. Let us, as usual, let us start with a small 10-second silence prayer. So, please welcome back our NEP 2020 Masterclass series. Today's moderator is Mrs. Pallavi Sharma. She is a principal of Mamata Modern Senior Secondary School, New Delhi. She is a master trainer of CBSE Center of Exchange, Delhi. She has been awarded the National CBSE year 2019 and the National CBSE Mentor Principal Award in the year 2012. She was also awarded by Delhi government with the Delhi State Teachers Award in the year 2016, and she has been a member of developing various training manuals for CBSE, especially outcome-based learning, critical pedagogy, and dealing with misbehavior, etc. I welcome Mrs. Pallavi Sharma, the Zonal Director of Delhi CAR, to introduce the guest. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Srisan sir. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to each one of you to the 5th webinar under the NEP 2020 Masterclass webinar series organized by Center for Educational Initiatives and Research Trust Global. CEIR, that's Center for Education Initiative and Research, is an international forum of experts and scholars aiming at empowering educators in order to keep them on par with global standards. CEIR has efficient educators as board of directors, zonal directors, and premium members from all parts of the India and Middle East on its panel. Established in 2009, CEIR has hosted a number of principals conclaves in places like Trivandrum, Cochin, Madurai, Malappuram, Mysore, Belgaum, and Bengaluru. It is an honor for us that our last principals conclave in Cochin in August 2019, as well as the first virtual program of CEIR on 6th of June 2020 was inaugurated by the Honorable Secretary of CBSE, Shri Anurag Tripathi. So far, CEIR has organized 49 principals workshops, 23 handwriting made easy programs, and 7 student career counseling programs on the virtual platform. An interaction with Controller of Examinations, CBSE, that is Dr. Sanyam Bhardwaj, has been planned for 27th February for principals and vice principals of Dubai. Good handwriting or bad handwriting is a myth. There is only trained and untrained handwriting. Good handwriting is very essential and teachers should be handwriting experts. Keeping this in mind, a unique program, Be a Handwriting Trainer for Teachers, is being initiated by CEIR. For more detail of the program, please write to contact@ceirglobal.com. Please join the CEIR news desk and Facebook to get more updates from CEIR. From what to think to how to think, the NEP ensures the youth is ready and in sync. For teachers too, it's a gigantic leap. The NEP Masterclass webinar series are planned on every Tuesdays and Saturdays in the month of February with an objective to help schools implement NEP guidelines in their classrooms. The speakers are all experts from the education sector. A committed team of CEIR members are working behind the scenes for the last 2 months for the success of this program. As shared, NEP Masterclass webinar series was inaugurated by Shri Anurag Tripathi, Secretary CBSE, on 2nd February. Dr. Swati Popat, President Podar Education Network, was the speaker of the day who gave us valuable insights on ECCE and foundation and literacy. On 6th February, Mr. Rajiv Kumar Garg, Principal of Datta Meghe World School, enlightened us on curriculum and pedagogy in schools, restructuring school curriculum and pedagogy in a new design and holistic development of learners. Ms. Sri Vidya Mauli, Principal of TVS Academy, Hosur, was the speaker for curricular integration of essential subjects and skills and transforming assessment for student development. Mrs. Revati Srinivasan, Director, Singhania School, was the speaker on support for gifted students with special talents. Today, we have all gathered for the 5th NEP Masterclass webinar on teachers, service environment and culture, continuous professional development, career management, and progression. We have Dr. Jaiman, Principal, MES Central School, and Mr. T. Prem Kumar, Principal, Indian Education School as our panelists, who are our zonal directors for Kerala North region and CEIR Kuwait, respectively. We welcome you, sirs. I also have great pleasure in introducing our speaker of the day, Dr. Vasanthi Tyagarajan. With over 39 years of teaching, learning, and administrative experience, Dr. Vasanthi Tyagarajan is the founder, principal, and correspondent of Sisya School, Hosur. With a doctorate in education, Dr. Vasanthi is passionate about teaching as well as training. She has attended a program on Project Zero conducted by Dr. Howard Gardner on multiple intelligences in Harvard University in 2008 and had many personal interactions with him on MI. She is also an accredited trainer in differentiated instruction for Harvard University's online program and has trained over 70 principals on DI across the globe. Dr. Vasanthi has designed a number of training manuals for CBSE on topics like happy teachers create happy spaces, understanding ethics and integrity, and many more. She's a master trainer for the Center of Excellence, CBSE. She has trained over 1,000 principals and over 5,000 teachers so far on various modules. She has been a part of the panel to examine examination reforms and holistic progress card designed for CBSE. She is also a member of various committees constituted by CBSE from time to time. She has many awards to her credit, the most important being the CBSE Teacher Award in 2004, the CBSE Mentor Award in 2011, and the National Award to Teachers in 2012 by the Government of India. At the international level, Dr. Vasanthi has received the Fulbright Distinguished Award. Dr. Vasanthi was also honored by the Ministry of Education, Government of Singapore in January 2014 as Outstanding Educator in Residence. Ma'am, it's indeed a pleasure to have you on board, and I really welcome you, a warm welcome to you, ma'am. Thank you so much for being with us today. Now, may I request the participants to mute your videos, your audios, and keep your videos on. As you listen to the speaker, please share your questions in the chat box because the session will be over by 5:20 p.m. and we request you to put in your questions in the meantime in the chat box so that they can be answered in the question answer round after ma'am's session. Please note that those who wish to receive a certificate will have to attend a minimum 5 webinars and also submit feedback for the 5 webinars. Towards the end of the session, the feedback form will be shared with you. And now I think we are all waiting to hear ma'am. So over to you, ma'am.
A very good evening and namaste to one and all present here. Thank you, Dr. Pallavi Sharma, for that warm welcome and lovely introduction. And it's such a privilege to meet the team of elite principals who have years of experience behind them and all gathered for a wonderful cause, the cause of teachers. It's the reason why we all exist. And I thank you for your very warm introduction of myself. And it's my privilege and pleasure to be part of this session today. I thank Dr. Bindu for having arranged for me to be here, because she insisted I should participate in this with a particular topic given to me. And without much ado, I will start off. Before that, greetings to everyone on the occasion of Vasant Panchami, a beautiful day of Saraswati Puja, where we seek blessings from the goddess for our enlightenment, and may she shower her blessings on all of us and our teachers and students. So I will, can I begin my own screen share, or would you be doing it?
Yeah, we can do it. You can just say, we will shift it from here, ma'am. No problem. You can simply say next.
Okay, fine. I'll
Thank
do
you,
that. Fine, thanks a lot. So we are on the first screen, so I'm okay with this. What we can all see here is the pillars of the NEP, because our focus today is on NEP Masterclass, I would be spending a little bit of my time on the pillars of the NEPs with special focus on the professional development of teachers and associated topics. But I want us to look at the NEP from the angle of the purpose, that it rests on pillars such as the access, the equity, the equality, affordability, and the accountability. And all of this is aimed towards making our children develop into good human beings. So whether we are talking about the early childhood education or we are talking about the professional development programs for our teachers, the NEP is looking at access for all our teachers, equity in the way we manage our teachers, equality in opportunity, and above everything, the accountability. And all because we have to create those wonderful human beings, our children, who are already citizens, but they are the future leaders of this great country. We have the big responsibility on our shoulders to take our children into the next 10, 15 years, to the world of careers, to the world of work, to the world of leadership. And therefore, the entire thing begins at school, in the classroom, with the teacher. So this is the purpose of our presentation, my presentation today. Can I have the next slide, please? Yes, so as I pointed out, the focus of my talk today would be on the service environment and culture that the NEP talks about, the continuous professional development that is required for teachers to stay updated, of course, and then a note on teachers' progression. What should schools actually do to enable all of this to happen? Because all of us come from different backgrounds, different schools, different managements. But the bottom line here for all of us is that our teachers become the priority to enable children to become our priority. That's the way I've looked at it. The next slide, please. Yes, so the NEP 2020, my focus is on service environment and culture. So chapter 5 completely deals with teachers, the recruitment, deployment, and the focus is on 5.8 to 5.14, which talks about the service environment and the culture. So I'm going to focus on that and then move on to my own experiences in my school, which I'd like to share with you. Yes, please. Next one. So we will quickly look at certain very important aspects of the NEP. The service environment and culture, 5.8 of the chapter, talks about strengthening and empowering our teachers to be more effective and impactful, which means we have to ensure as leaders, as school managements, that there is an effective communication that's going to happen to all our teachers. And this is a top-down activity in the school, where the principal needs to convey the latest changes in pedagogy to our teachers. Schools will also have to encourage a lot of experimentation by our teachers of new innovative pedagogy. And the third important aspect is when we are talking about empowering teachers to be impactful and effective, I think the intrinsic as well as the extrinsic motivation is important. So one thing we can do is to recognize best practices and efforts of our teachers in the open forums of the school, so that the teacher is recognized for their effort. We also have to take up the responsibility to ensure that there is a proper supervision of our classes for monitoring, mentoring, guiding, and motivating our teachers. They need all of this so that we strengthen what they are good at, look at where they need to improve so that they are more effective. 5.9 of the NEP focuses on good working environment with an adequate support system that will lead to better productivity. So we were to interpret these words, it would be that we appoint a committee. I would suggest that we have a teacher welfare committee where teachers must be able to voice their needs. Productivity cannot happen just because somebody gets salary or we allot some work for them. It is important that they need a voice in the school. So the principal can be approached only if the grievance cannot be solved at teacher level. This is what we do in my school. We get teachers to try and talk it out with their coordinators at their levels. And if they can't, then it is the question of where the principal comes in. The empowerment has to be given so that there's better productivity. The emotional baggage that a teacher could carry on account of some environmental issue, could be with colleagues, could be with the classroom, could be the furniture, whatever, they need the adequate system to better their productivity. It's important that we have something like a suggestion box where teachers can anonymously post all their requests and suggestions. And the other important point is that when we talk about free periods for our teachers, out of 40 periods, let's say teachers work, in my school, they work for about 24 periods, sometimes 20, 22. And these free periods must definitely be free in terms of not that they have nothing to do and therefore give them other work, but the teacher needs that time to pursue the preparation, the planning, the evaluation, the access to resources like the internet and the library, so that the best plans are made by teachers. Because we must remember that teachers need to reflect on the day's work that they delivered in the class, look into what went okay and what didn't go well and what they need to tweak, and then prepare for the next class. It's not all about a one-shot lesson plan and the teacher takes a class for 2 weeks. We all know that. And we've seen from the examples of the happy nations like Finland and Denmark and New Zealand and many countries across Europe, Canada, and so on, that teachers do not carry home work and they complete everything as much as possible in the school. And that's why this aspect of that free period is to be taken very seriously. We should allow teachers to complete as much of their work as possible, carry home, avoiding carry home that kind of a cognitive baggage, I call it, so that this could have a very negative impact on their home front also. Because, you know, it affects the way they could manage their families. And that's the last thing we want a teacher to have, issues with her family. So as school managements, we need to have that kind of a responsibility. The next one, please. Next slide, please. Yes. Teachers will be given continuous support, they say, for self-improvement to learn the latest innovations and advances in their professions. So on this point of 5.15, I would say, we need to look at, very importantly, the skill needs identification matrix that has to be developed by a school. Every department must have a skill matrix which is specific to their department with clear criteria to fix the actual level where the teacher is. Is that teacher proficient? Is that teacher in a developing stage? Or is the teacher a newcomer? And the level that has to be attained. Teachers will also have to work on the same self-matrix in terms of a self-assessment. And this is where the self-assessment based on self-rating by the teacher and the head of department or the coordinator together will decide specifically where the training is required. Is it in classroom management? Is it in the lesson plan design? Is it in the framing of higher order thinking? This is where the skill matrix for every department works. And it's also important to see that when we sponsor teachers or send them for online trainings, offline training, face-to-face, whatever, post the training, we must get our teachers to come back to share the learning that they had outside the premises of the school. And also the teachers who are sent for such training should have a very clear plan how to deploy the new ideas and the knowledge that they had gained outside during the training with their peers inside the school. This is where there is going to be a flow of continuous opportunities for self-improvement by all members of the school. Some members could be attending a training, but the benefits could percolate to all the members. That's very important. The next slide, please. Yes, can I have the next slide? The next requirement was about what we call the career management and the progression. Basically, we have to see what this means and what this implies. So career progression, if you were to look at that definition, it's the process of climbing a ladder during your working life. How do I move forward as a teacher? What are my chances of promotion in the school? How can I grow? Where are the new challenges? How do I find those challenges in the school? Who are my employers? What do I know about them? What new opportunities can the school give me? How do I get the most out of my career? This is the guideline that the teachers will need. And the proper way to analyze and discuss careers is to look at those stages of these teachers where exploration happens. The teacher has to explore the challenges, establish all the learning that's happening. Mid-career, what am I going to do with myself? I'm in my 40s, what do I do? I'm in my 50s, how do I go up? I'm almost retiring, but still would love to be in the teaching line. What do I do? So this is where the school has a big responsibility of guiding our teachers on what we call the progression of their careers. Yes, please. Next slide, please. It also means what we need to do as managements would be that teachers, we should ensure as leaders, as principals, as school managements, that there is a very clear pathway or a vision for the teacher. We have to show them that pathway where they have to be and versus where they can actually be. The teacher has to see both. They need to have a personal vision. This is where I need to move. When we make annual reports of our teachers, we must ensure that there is this provision, that the teacher is able to see where they've been at the beginning and where they stand at the end. It's a moment of gratification for a teacher that I have moved. And this coming, let's say, from the head of department or in discussion with the principal, only indicates that there is an upward movement of progression happening in that school. This would definitely help the teacher get an idea of personal capacities and their own strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. What do I do with my strength? With a little bit of mentoring, how do I make my weaknesses into greater strengths? What are the opportunities the school is going to offer me? Have I used those opportunities? A lot of reflection has to happen. If the teacher faces some personal threats on her profession or whatever, I think that has to be discussed, because the entire discussions of personal capacities become meaningful and then help this teacher to move forward. They have a vision for themselves. And it's very important that teachers have this vision. There has to be the system of mentoring that supports the individual teacher progress. It's very, very important. I'll be sharing a slide later on about what I observed in Singapore when I was invited there for the award. I was asked to meet. They have a very clear picture of teacher progress. I'll share that with you. We are trying in our school to take it up. That will come shortly. We also have to recognize the fact that as far as career management and progression is concerned, principals play a very major role with coordinators to ensure the growth of potential leaders in our school. Leaders don't necessarily mean someone who's going to become principal. There are leaders where various aspects of the school, they lend themselves to leadership. There could be clubs which have to be run, societal outreach work. So leadership happens everywhere. It's a question of how the principals, along with coordinators, make sure that we tap those potential leaders. And we have to make sure that the potential leadership in any institution has to be very non-threatening, because that will help teachers to move forward. It's very important that we work on this. The next slide, please. Can I have the next slide? Yes. So I'm going to now start the journey with my school, because I think it makes more sense to talk. I have a request. I think at the bottom of my screen, I seem to have people in the waiting room and other chat box. Can that all be cleared so that I can read off and explain better?
Sure, ma'am. We'll take care of it, ma'am.
Yeah, there seems to be a block at the bottom. Yeah, can you kindly ensure that?
Yeah, is it better now, ma'am? Actually,
No,
we
in
are
fact, it's still getting,
we have
it's still,
1,000 participants.
Yeah, but I'm having notes like people are entering the meeting and so on.
Okay.
Admit the people. Can that be removed so that I can go ahead with my presentation? So I begin with my school, and my school is called Shishya School, and we are located at Hosur. And I wish to now speak to you on where does all this begin for a teacher? And I'm going to talk about my own experiences with my teachers in my school and what we do with them. Is my voice audible? Somebody says voice is not audible, but I thought I was speaking loudly enough.
Ma'am, you are audible.
Fine. I'm
attempts
audible,
you are
it's
able
fine.
to solve.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible, ma'am.
Thank you. So shall we go to the next slide, please?
Yes, please.
Yes. So before we even start this journey about understanding my school, there are certain myths and realities of teachers and teaching that I have personally experienced and I want to share. 3 major myths that need to be exploded or debunked. The first thing is, there is the feeling experienced teachers do not need training. It's a myth. The fact is that the world around us is changing every other day. So teachers, irrespective of their experience, will need upgradation of their skills all the time. The COVID times have taught us enough lessons that no matter what your experience is, how equipped is a teacher to manage online classrooms, various tools, how to convert them into engaging classrooms, not just running a PPT on the screen. Your children will simply switch off. So look at the way the entire gamut has changed for all of us. So it's not about experienced teachers don't need, in fact, they need training, because sometimes I find I'm also a so-called experienced teacher with over 39 years in the teaching field. I'm still in the learning process. I don't think we'll reach a stage where I say I know everything. It would be the most foolish thing to say. And the second thing people feel is new teachers take time to learn. I don't believe in that. My experience has taught me that new teachers, if motivated well and they have clarity about their job, they are very enthusiastic, and that enthusiasm is so infectious. The new teachers, they talk well to children, get along well, and in fact this kind of motivates others who are so-called senior teachers to take a leaf out of these very young teachers bubbling with enthusiasm and energy. So they really don't take the time. It's all a matter of the inclination by any teacher. And we also assume by default that all teachers have this complete understanding of our students' needs, whether they are cognitive, emotional, or social. No. I find that we need to work a lot on the last 2 areas, especially the emotional needs of our children and the social needs. Classrooms are not about going in, delivering the cognitive content and coming out, getting results, getting applauded. I don't think that's all about the learning for our children. The learning is all about getting our children ready for their lives, and their emotional, social areas are very, very important. So when we talk so much about classroom management, it's all about taking care of not just the content, but also the conduct in the class, everyone treated equally, and the covenants, the kind of relationship I'm going to establish so that everyone is happy in my class. So these are 3 major areas I wanted to talk about, and then let's move on. Yes, please, next slide. Yes, if you look at my school, Sashia School, right on your screens, you can see we have a vision and a mission. Our school is about, it's 31 years old now. We were established in the year 1989. And one of the first things that we worked in our school was we held on to those values that we are talking about. So there is a total transparency in all of what we do, which I'll explain further. Our vision statement was framed in the year 2009. And the vision statement has clearly been decided by an entire group of people, which I shall explain shortly. It talks about pursuing global standards that nurture holistic students through a student-centric environment. This vision statement has to be shared with teachers, students. Everyone has to be on board with us. Our mission statement is to engender empowered learners with 21st century skills. And we have a timeline for the mission of 2022. And we want our children to go beyond those cognitive abilities. The school is totally focusing on the right values, attitudes, and we want this to be a natural response to life. This is the mission of the school. You can see the emblem at the center where there's a star and seek, strive, and succeed. And right in the center is the emblem, which I shall explain in the next slides. Please move on. Thank you. Yeah. So if you look at the vision of the school, it was designed in the year 2009, a long time back. And it is valid even till today. Talk about global standards and holistic, individual, child-centric environment. And believe me, in the year 2009, This journey began 2 years prior to that. Almost 18 to 20 months of discussions happened in the school to make sure that all were on board. We took in the stakeholders of teachers, of our SMC members, our trust, our management people, the principal was there. We brought in the alumnus, members from the public, and everyone had to brainstorm for over 18 months as to what would be those words that would make the vision of the school. And it was framed in 2009. Everybody has signed up. And we're happy to note that this is valid even today. Yes, the next slide, please. So when a school talks about the triad, there are three things that we always must remember: the vision, the mission, and the values. We call them the triad because these three are very closely interlinked. So in our school, the values, the principles of the school that we adopted, first we looked into the integrity and the transparency. In all academic matters and financial matters, the management and the principal and the teachers, we took a call on that. We also spoke about joyful learning being a value in the school, that we create happy classrooms for our children. It's a commitment. And then the third one is about the mutual respect, that's equity, treating everyone the same, compassion and care for the environment. So this is where I just wanted to elaborate a little bit about the transparency in our financial and academic matters. I want you to understand that this school has been founded only for the purpose of our children. We have called it Shishya, and I happen to be the founder principal. I know what I'm talking about. The trust, the Shishya Educational Trust, was founded only with one intention: to support quality learning with no compromise. So what you will find about my school is we don't advertise results. Our admissions go like notices to the public to tell them we are open. We believe strongly in the school that teachers are at the heart of the school and its progress and development. Until date, we follow this principle. We also believe that teacher training and orientation and updation is given a top priority because we have to serve the stakeholder students. No teacher is left behind, as it were. And for us, the values and attitudes is a part of our value system in the school is an area where we are very uncompromising on values and attitudes, especially the way children respect teachers, parents respect teachers. And what we have done as samples are, if we had children who had problems of attitude with teachers in terms of disrespect, looking down upon the status of a teacher versus their own big status outside, we made sure that such students do not continue in the school after that academic year. We don't readmit them in the senior secondary school because we believe that it's very important, no matter how brilliant you are, what kind of results you can pull off for the school, unless the teacher is respected, the management will not encourage any kind of this disrespect to our teachers. So when we talked about the integrity, I would also like to add that the way the school has been formed is that all the old students of my school, that is the vision of our institution, all my old students of the school have come back to my institution to serve me as my trustees today. So I have my president of the trust, who's Dr. Karthik Rao, a first batch student of mine. He is a brilliant doctor in Fortis Hospital, Bangalore. The secretary of my trust is my second batch student, Dr. Bhupesh. He has his own hospital. He's a very renowned ortho surgeon in Chennai and Thiruvananthapuram, and so on. Most importantly, we have not given any kind of financial benefit to our trustees over these 31 years. The school has been built. We have a new campus, which is like a state-of-art sports campus, where everything has been built by parental contribution. So our balance sheets are transparent. Parents can question us on the way we use their money. All of the excess income is put into our developmental projects. When we talk to our parents and ask for support, it comes immediately, and it's because we are transparent. And most importantly, the trust believes that the comfort of the teacher and the respect for the teacher is one uncompromising fact, because we strongly believe that these teachers are the ones who actually deliver the goods in school. So what do? On the one hand, teachers are recognized for very good results in our board exams, no doubt. But we are now designing a very authentic rewarding system because we believe our teachers from kindergarten upwards to middle school and beyond are also teachers who have laid that foundation for all these so-called exemplary performances of the 10th and the 12th classes. And I also want to add on that many of our teachers have gone through leadership experiences in our school at various levels. Many of them are principals today outside my school in and around Hosur, outside Hosur. This is a matter of pride for my school that we are nurturing leadership. So we don't hesitate if a teacher says, I've got better prospects, I've been asked to join as vice principal. We wish them well, and we're glad, that the CPD has started working. So these are the founding principles on which my school has run all these years, and it will run all these years in the future too. The next, please. Next one, please. So when a teacher enters Shishya, when we talk about the professional development, the first thing we are doing is they have to be aware of this vision and mission, what I spoke to you about. They need to know what values the school stands for. They also need to know that there is a complete focus on that child. That's why we named it Shishya. And most importantly, they must know that there is an approachability of the principal, of the management, and of the trust. Nobody is beyond being approached. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Can I have the, yeah. So when we talk about the career planning of our teachers, we have to look into various aspects of our teachers when we look into their career planning, which is another area to be looked at. So we look at motivation. How do we talk to the teacher? What is success according to the school? What is success according to a teacher? What's the career ladder for the teacher in my school? What are some goals we want to define and share common goals? What are the strengths? Does a teacher know how to identify their strengths and weakness? What are we talking about? Qualification, upgradation of qualification. We give them a checklist, ask them to look into it for professional improvement. The school is there hand-holding teachers all the time. So the next slide, please. Yes. So if you look at the school's CPD, we have a system of SOPs in the school, processes which help us to guide and track teachers. We have many formats. If time permits, I can share. Let us see. These are some of the areas we have. We have an SOP for the teacher recruitment. It's very clearly outlined how a teacher has to be recruited. Secondly, when a teacher comes in, we have what is called a basic induction training program. The teacher doesn't plunge into a classroom unless there's an emergency, but there has to be a side-by-side running of a basic induction training. Then thirdly, there is a teacher's professional development track record. We tell teachers to maintain it, and we ensure that the heads of department also track this. Then we look at new teachers coming to the school, guidelines for them, the recruitment, how does school go about it? There's a very good clarity on that. Then we look into the ongoing training process. What happens as an ongoing training process? Then training deployment. Teachers go out for a lot of trainings and they come back. We have a system where the teacher has to come back and the teacher has to deploy it with the school. There is a department checklist that guides teachers on all the documents that have to be maintained. We also support teachers by asking them to present their best practices. So we give them a template, ask them to experiment with latest pedagogy, latest practices. And once a month when we have our open forum, we tell teachers, come forward and present yourselves. They feel very proud when they present their best practices and they are appreciated by the entire school. And then we have a daily study schedule for the teachers, online and offline, where we see what's happening and we check out and guide the teachers. We have a classroom observation sheet, subject-wise it's been designed so that when we observe teachers, after the class is done, we have a discussion. It's more of a reflection that is happening. So we ask the teacher, like, what have you been doing? Where do you think you can improve? You started the class this way. Did you use the technology appropriately? Did you give everybody a chance? And whatever observation we have, we share that also with the teacher. It's part of their training process. And we tell them, take a look at what areas you're going to be observed, the 21st century skills, all of that, if possible. I like to get into sharing on that once this is done. Yes, please. So if you look at the guiding stars of professional development for our teachers, I look at very important things like every opportunity for us is an opportunity for learning. I tell my teachers, everything. You could be walking on the corridors, there could be something you're learning out of that. You could be overhearing something in a class, which is important. Learning can happen, we believe, anywhere, anytime. And a lot of learning can happen through our own students. Fun and learning can happen together, and they can be very impactful on social relationships amongst our teachers. So you can see that Guru Sishya emblem in the center. It indicates the Guru and the Sishya. That's why we brought it into the center. We greet our children with the terminology called Vande Gurum. And who is the Guru here? We believe that the teacher and the student both are Gurus for each other. There is no distinction between the Guru in terms of learning, because a lot of learning happens when children tell us certain aspects and clarify it for us. We are struggling with technology. You find children coming up and starting up the system. So in our school, we believe you have to greet children with folded hands and say Vande Gurum, hail the teacher. Who is that teacher? It could be the teacher herself or the children. So when the child says Vande Gurum, the teacher also reciprocates. We believe we have to bow down because we believe learning happens from top down. There's a flow like water. So the teacher has to have the humility in the transaction of learning. It's not that I know everything. No, there is a gap between what I know and what the children do not know. And the biggest challenge for the teacher is to fill that gap. At the end of it, we have to make sure that the child has learned whatever you wanted them to learn. And then you're equating the learning. So where's the question of a gap between the teacher and the student? A good teacher must be able to deliver all of her knowledge well so that the child is equated with that teacher. That's why we use this Vande Gurum all the time. And children call us that way. We call them, you see my teachers, when we call each other on the phone, we start with Vande Gurum. Because we believe that this Guru is a very powerful personality in the life of a child. Children are also our Gurus. The humility has to come either way. And this is one of the hallmarks, and a lot of fun. We take teachers on outings, as you can see in the pictures here. A lot of impactful learning can happen in social relationships. I'm sure many of you must be doing that. We do it. So a lot of fun, games, a little bit of training. So that's the way life goes on for the school. Yes, please. Next slide. You can see some pictures of our outings where we have partially training, partially fun, and a lot of sharing. We make sure it's done very informally outside the school, once in a way, so that teachers relax, and at the same time, a little bit of learning is also happening. A lot of sharing, a lot of learning. This is one thing I wanted to share as a practice. Yes, please. Now, after I close this, I will show you some templates if time permits. When I went to the Ministry of Singapore on invitation for receiving my award as the Outstanding Educator in Residence in 2014, I was very fortunate to be exposed to all of their schools at nursery, primary, middle school, and in the high school levels. I was asked to take classes for them. But one of the most important things that struck me with the Ministry of Education, because I was given complete freedom to access all of their teachers, all of their files, all of their patterns, nothing was hidden, is this pattern of what we call the nurturing leadership there. So every teacher who begins work there starts as a classroom teacher, and the school shows them 3 pathways as a vision that is possible for the teacher. And the teacher is shown that the teacher could either get into teaching tracks to become a senior teacher, master trainer for the school on certain topics. The teacher can, if interested and says, I would like to get into leadership track, then the teacher is groomed into becoming the head, subject head, head of department, vice principal, principal. And if the teacher says, no, I want to be a specialist lead, so the subject specialist at school will give all its resources to make sure that person is a subject specialist and a lead specialist. So we are planning based on the Singapore model. It's a brilliant model I saw in Singapore. I'm trying to execute that once school begins. We have already begun in small ways, but it requires the principals personal intervention and talk with teachers. Where do you want to go from here? You don't want teachers to remain where they are when they enter the school. Let them look at the vision of the tracks that we can open out for them so that they know they can grow. We don't have to worry whether this teacher will leave our school or she'll be with us. We don't have to worry, because somewhere we must remember that if a teacher has left me after all my grooming to become a vice principal and she has joined another school, I strongly believe we should not hold the teacher back. And the teacher goes to serve another group of children there. So if we truly believe that we are here for the service of children, not just of my school, we let it go and we say, shake hands, do well, we are very happy for you. No problem. Right? Next slide, please. So this is how we are looking at this career progression. We have to start with a little bit of assessment of the teachers. I'm planning to do this Singapore model shortly with my school, and I'm trying to get some help from my colleagues of Fulbright who are with the ministry at Singapore. What we're trying to look at is assessment. I assess teachers as to where you are now on the skills, the aptitudes, attitudes, and so on. And then we start exploring where can this teacher go in the school. After that, we have to begin the preparation of the teacher for that pathway of the teacher. We have to allow the teacher to implement her vision also and make decisions about herself. And we hope one day we would really be able to nurture a lot of good teachers, a lot of leaders around us. Next slide, please. So after I close on this, I would like to open out some of my documents for your sharing, just to show you some of the various areas where we write our plans, how we clear it with our teachers and so on, and then we shall open the session. The role of teachers as the NEP says, I want to close with that particular words, because to me, these words are very, very valuable. Teachers actually shape the future of our children and therefore the future of the nation. I strongly believe in that. It is because of this noblest role that the teacher was the most respected member. So the NEP says, get that respect back for the teachers. Only the very best and most learned become teachers. Not anyone and everyone can be a teacher. Let's be proud to be teachers. Society gave teachers and gurus what they need to pass on their knowledge, skills, and ethics optimally to our children. The high respect for teachers and the high status of the teaching profession must be restored. That is our biggest task now of the policy, to inspire the best to enter the teaching profession. The motivation and empowerment is required to ensure the best possible future for the children and for our nation. That's why we are all here. Yes, please. Next slide. Next slide, please. So I just want to close with these very powerful thoughts of one of the greatest teachers who has inspired me very personally. Teachers are the backbone of any country, the pillar upon which all aspirations of the nation are converted into reality. And only a teacher can allow that to happen. Nobody else can do that. So I come to the end of this presentation, and we can go for the questions now. Thank you all very much. We could open it out for questioning. And if there is time, yes, the good salary package must be given. That's why I said there should be a financial transparency and teachers must get what they deserve. Absolutely right. So
Thank you, ma'am. Thank
close
you,
the
Mr.
presentation
Basant
now.
Tyagarajan. That was indeed a wonderful session. And, I'm reading the chat box that says they're so happy, the teachers, that when your talk has really motivated them. And I'm sure, like when you said, people are saying when teachers are nurtured well, they will nurture the students well. It's
Definitely.
very true, ma'am. It's very
Absolutely.
true.
Absolutely right.
It was indeed a wonderful talk. In fact, I wanted to, when you ended your session, I wanted to say Vande Gurum. I
Yes,
wish I
Vande
could have
Gurum.
started the session that way, ma'am. So Vande Gurum to you.
Yes, Vande Gurum.
A
Vande
wonderful
Gurum.
session.
And on time also, ma'am.
Yeah. Ma'am, now may I invite our panelist, Mr.
Yes,
T. Prem Kumar, to raise any questions that sir has.
Please.
Over to you, sir. Mr. T. Prem Kumar.
Yes, sir.
Sir, you're on mute mode, sir. And
Yes.
can I request the participants to put in their questions into the chat box?
Good afternoon, Dr. Vasanti.
Good afternoon. Vande Gurum, sir.
Vande Gurum to everyone.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
At the very outset, let me express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to you for two reasons. Firstly, you have valued time,
Thank you.
Exactly.
and therefore kudos to you.
Thank you, sir.
Secondly, you have touched upon the very core aspect of how to handle teachers in an organization. And Shishya, I don't know if it is a concept that you have taken from Adyar in Chennai. Shishya school is there in Adyar as well.
I know, sir, but
No,
we called it Shishya to dedicate the entire journey to the child, sir.
I know.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I know the Shishya school in Adyar, so
Yes, sir.
I know the values and ethos of that institution. And hearing from you, yes, I can put together and feel that, yes, Shishyas value teachers.
Thank you, sir.
On that note, I've got two questions from Mrs. Asha Sharma, who is a colleague and a friend of mine who works in Kuwait.
Yes,
And her question is, the first question of Mrs. Asha Sharma of Indian Learners Own Academy, Kuwait.
yes, sir.
If teachers work for 6 hours at school, it's obvious that some work will be carried to home.
Yes, sir.
They have to reflect a lot.
Yes, sir.
That can happen at home when they are in peace. Your take on this?
I don't know about that piece, sir, because I think the teacher has a family to care for. And we also face these problems in my own school where teachers were carrying home work. And in the beginning years, we lost many of our very good teachers on account of the clash between home and the school, sir. Wonderful teachers leave us because they're not able to manage both. And that is why I strongly feel the school has to take the onus. If you look at the way the corporate world works, the factories work, sir, it's a clear 9 to whatever, 6 o'clock, and then it's all done. After that, the total, the entire thing is that about 25 periods a teacher will work out of 35. In our school, we have 40 periods. Teachers work for 20, 22 periods. The rest of the time, they are free. And what we mean by free is we have to value that free period. It's not really free. The teacher has to use all of that, especially mathematics and language teachers, sir. It's on a daily basis that mathematics and languages need to be checked, corrected, and returned. And you imagine the teacher carrying this burden home. Whenever I see my teachers carrying that bag, I get very emotionally upset because I know somewhere it's impacting the home and the children at home. And that's not fair. It is the onus on the school to ensure that teachers must complete work. The school must provide the facilities, sir. We have to do that. Must do it. That's our challenge. We cannot say that you will do it at peace at home. I don't think it happens, sir. To be very honest, you cannot have peace when your entire family is waiting for you to take care of them. How can you peacefully work with your work? And it means working late night maybe. And that's not okay for a teacher to sit up till 11, 12. I know, sir, in the online classes, I've seen my teachers because I see their plans when they send it to me. They sit up till 11, 11:30. I feel very bad. What are you doing so late in the night? And they say, only after taking care of the family, I have to work on it. It's very tough, sir. The online classes, in fact, have had a very heavy pull on teachers more than anything else, sir.
Thank you. I think that answer is for Mrs. Asha Sharma, and I'm sure she is here and hearing you as well.
I wish Asha will respond to my answer, and I hope I've convinced that we have to work very hard, me included. I'm not saying I'm the perfect principal who takes care of my teachers. I do find my teachers carrying home work. It's a matter of guilt for all of us. We shouldn't allow that to happen. We have to be very frank that we must give the teacher their due.
Thank you. Then another question from the chat box is Madam, what is the strength of a class in your school?
So we have 40 children to a class. Sometimes when children take transfer certificates and go out and we are not able to fill in the lateral admissions, many classes run with 35, but 40 is our maximum ceiling. We don't take one student more than 40 in the class. And teachers are able to do their work because of this, sir. We do not exceed that strength for sure.
So that is the second question from one of the participants in the
Yes,
chat box. And again, Madam Asha Sharma posed a question that if 2/3 of the time is spent in teaching, is
Yes, sir.
1/3 enough for meticulous correction work?
Yeah, if I were to look at 20 out of 40 periods for my teachers, that's 50% free, sir. Some of them work 22 periods out of 30. I mean, out of 40, that's about a little more than 50%. I think the time has to be given, sir, because if they work for 30 periods out of 40, it is impossible to give justice to the children. Not possible. So we actually have more number of teachers than we require. Sometimes the CBSE also points out that you have more than you need. But for me, that's not important. What is important is how do I space out? Because I told you, we are a very transparent school. What are we going to do with all that money? So 90% of my school fees that we collect, sir, goes for teacher salary. 10% we use for expenditures throughout the year. My teachers work out the budget for the school, sir, not the management. So we are very clear about the transparency of the money, sir.
Absolutely brilliant, ma'am. That's very great of
And
Shishya.
many of my teachers attending here, and I know I'm talking on behalf of my school. So we are very authentic about what we are doing. So 31 years we have stood that test of time.
Great. I don't think there were many questions because you were explicitly very clear in your thoughts and in your presentation. So it has dispelled, I think, almost all the doubts in the minds of the educators on forum.
Thank you, sir.
So therefore, I do have a question for you.
Please, sir.
So from my side, let me ask you a question.
Sure, sir.
The question is regarding one of the slides on which you had printed that ensure proper supervision of classes and to guide
Yes, sir.
the teachers.
Yes, sir.
In this context, my question to you, madam, is when we observe a lesson, are we to look after the performance of the teacher or look after the students who are able to understand this teacher and the amount of grasping these kids who are entrusted to our care? In your case, it is 40 students in a class.
Yes, sir.
And in the school where I am, it's only 25.
Okay.
Okay.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, we have a class of 25 students.
Yes, sir.
So when you have a large number of students,
Yes, sir.
isn't that the responsibility of the middle leaders and the senior leaders to look after the amount of grasping that the students get from this particular teacher,
Yes, sir.
and then improve upon that rather than make the teacher someone from where she is or what she is?
Yes, sir. I fully agree with you. Very valid question, sir. What we have to be very clear about is, sir, what are we observing? And, I will just share a little bit with you now. I just tell you what we need to look at, sir. This is how we have designed it for the school. We cover the entire 40 minutes through.
Your voice is breaking, man. Your voice is breaking.
Yeah. Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, yes.
So what we're looking at is when a classroom is being observed, we have to create a template that takes care of the teacher, the students, and it has to have an inbuilt system where there is a scope for the teacher to look into self-reflection and improvement. So we have areas of observation on our template, which talks about, I don't know if I can share this. Let me try. If this can permit me to share. Maybe, I think screen sharing is disabled. So I'll just read off. See, basically our observation template, sir, will contain areas such as the class settling down process. Because I strongly believe when we talk about a happy school, a happy classroom.
Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am. You can do that. Ma'am, sorry. You can share from your side if possible.
Can I? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We
it still
will
says the
enable.
host has disabled.
Yeah, we will enable you, ma'am.
Let me try. No, sir, I'm not able to share. I'm sorry.
Now try, ma'am, please.
Yes. Now, yes, sir.
Ah, yeah, yes.
Very good. So I will show you one second. Yeah. Yes. I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, ma'am.
So you can see that this is for the social science department. There's a teacher who's being observed, right? The date and all that. So this is an active one that's been used. We look into areas of observation like a class that is settling down, sir. And here what we do is we start every class with mindful meditation, because we believe that when children move from one class to another, or a teacher enters one class, the teacher of the previous class could leave children behind with some kind of emotional upset. This teacher has to come in and allow the class to settle down. We do it through what we call mindful meditation. The children sit in silence. We play some music if possible. We do deep breathing. Children become mindful, calm down, and then the teacher starts. And the next thing what she does is that she discusses the agenda with the children. We believe that you have to tell children what you're planning for their time, because it is their learning time. And we tell the children that agenda is put up on the board, even in an online class or face-to-face class, same procedure. And there the teacher will discuss, first we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that, and so on. And she asks children, is that okay with you? The entire discussion happens. You can see the observer has written comments like, yes, it's been done. Thirdly, we all believe that you don't plunge into your story. So we make sure that the teacher begins the class with some motivational video, some story, and she puts up a thought, gets one child to talk about it, share the positive thoughts. So the class is settling down. And then the teacher also spends 2 to 3 minutes on checking the physical comforts of the class. This is an online one. And she tells children to sit down comfortably, relax. She tells them how to use the video, the mute of the audio video. All that is done by the teacher with clear instruction. And also we have COVID guidelines. So we share that because we always tell our children, be careful about this. Then we move into the second part of it called the teacher transaction, which comes in the daily plan of the teacher. Here, this is rated on a 5 to 1 scale. 5 would be excellent, 1 needing improvement. And we look into the components first of an engaged classroom. Is the teacher having an engaged classroom? This is what the observer will be observing. What does she do? Is the teacher doing a recap of the previous concept? What was the strategy used? So the oral discussion was used. Does the teacher discuss a segmentation of the content? So yes, she used picture interpretation. And then we look at, did she use any innovative teaching with Padlet or Jamboard or breakout classes? Then the teacher says, no, it was not seen, that is recorded. Then we look at the use of a PPT, voiceover. Yes, the teacher used it. Was it clear and attractive? Then we look at student sharing, where the children called on randomly instead of voluntarily. Somebody talks all the time. We want teachers to ask children to participate fully. Yes, she says that they called on randomly, shared their views about the project. We also believe that humor in the classroom is very important. So we bring up point number 7. The children laughed out loud at something appropriate. You just don't laugh at something just like that. We laugh with others. We don't laugh at others. So the teacher can show a cartoon, have a quick break in the class, have some game, some puzzle, 2 minutes. So there's a distraction. Everyone feels good about it. Get back to the lesson. This is happening even in our online classes, sir. Then we also believe strongly on self-reflection during the class. So she says the conservation of environment was taught and the children reflected on the point and expressed it. Then what was the opinion? Was it given in a whole class setting? Was it given in a group? The teacher comments, the observer comments on the right-hand side. Then what about the teacher's explanation of concept? Was it clear, logical, systematic, explicit? Did she use proper examples? Yes, systematically explained. What were the different strategies used? In this case, she used picture interpretation. Some teachers you'll find plenty of them. The next one is about the question matrix. We believe this question matrix holds the key to higher order thinking. In this case, the teacher has not used it. So after the class, we would have a discussion as to why she felt it was not required. Then we look into the next aspect of the 21st century skills. What of these did she use in the class? Life skills like collaborative skills, cooperation, creative thinking. What did she use? And the observer says she used creative thinking and collaborative thinking. Then we look at the use of multiple intelligence. Because I work a lot with Dr. Gardner and I push multiple intelligences a lot into my school. And she says here the teacher used the visual linguistic intelligence. Probably interpersonal would have been used. Then experiential learning and constructivism, did it happen? She says yes, with the modeling on landforms. Was arts integration used? She says no, not seen. Was storytelling case studies used? She says yes. Did she use any kind of assessment? And they say MS forms. Was any kind of assignment given? So you can see in brackets, sir, in our school, we have 3 kinds of assignments. One is called the practice-based assignment, where children only practice. Second, we look at explorative. Children have to go back and explore the environment, explore the internet, get additional information. And the third kind is called the extension, going beyond the text. And she says the teacher did give them extension-based work on the text. How do the teacher close the class? It's very important to close your class well and not abruptly stop it. She says she thanked the children. We all do that. We say, Vande Gurum, thank you very much for your support today. And we learned a lot. And can you tell me what you felt about the class? So much happens in that last time. And then we look into any department specific inputs, so accountancy, economics, teachers will add on. Did the teacher use current affairs? She says they use the Swachh Bharat mission. Any specific training, we write it there. See the continuous improvement that is happening all the time. Any area for improvement, you can use concept activities related to arts integration. And then we say the session was interactive, the question matrix was good, children participated very well during the storytelling. So this is only one sample that I am choosing to share with you, sir. Right?
Thank you, Dr. Vasanthi, for that wonderful presentation of your lesson observation format.
No problem.
But I would like to ask you another question in the
Yes,
same
sir.
context. With this particular, filling up of this form, it is
Yes, sir.
only the observer observing the teacher. Now, every
sir.
teacher in your school knows this format. What is
Yes,
in the
sir.
format?
They must know.
Right. Now, since they know this format, don't you think that when the observer is there, they will be just following all these parameters that you have mentioned in this meticulously,
Yes.
so that you, the observer, will say, yes, yes, done, done, done. My question is, how much of this has really gone into the student? I don't find in this format the observer asking the student a question after all the session
Yes.
on the subject taught and
Sure,
evaluate the students to understand the impact of the teacher in the class during that 40 minutes.
Yes.
Would that benefit or not is my question. That's it.
It would definitely benefit, sir. We have this inbuilt facility
Yes.
that when there is an observer, that observer, see, I'll answer the first part, sir. If we feel that a teacher knows somebody is going to come to her class and observe her class, and because of that, she's going to do her best, at least let the children benefit that time, no, sir. I don't find anything wrong with that, right?
I didn't hear that part.
Sir, you can, there's nothing wrong in a teacher knowing that somebody is going to observe her class.
I believe some
She's
issues.
going to deliver her best. But you cannot manipulate a class that you've already prepared for, sir. You have to understand that. I hope you get my point.
I got your point, but my point is, in that format, there is no evidence with the observer that the lesson was very impactful for the student, 40 of them in the class.
I'll answer that, sir. We have a Google form at the end of every class. Sir, no. We have a Google form at the end of every class, sir. It is put in the chat box for children in the online class. And we have designed that Google form where children give feedback on the impact of learning, sir. And that form is immediately given as a result to the teacher, the head of department, and principal. Right. And that helps us to see exactly what is the impact. It's not just a teacher teaching one observer. And the observer need not always be right. You know, we cannot 100% rely. We look at
Yes.
children who are the main stakeholders. During regular classes also, sir, we have exit slips. So we tell children to drop the exit slips. If I go as observer, I talk to children after the class is over. When I meet them on the grounds, because every morning we start with going to the grounds for a walk, we talk to children how our class is happening. So I think, one, it's a matter of trust that teachers will be delivering what we want them to deliver. I always believe that if they know somebody is coming and they're going to do their best, let them do their best, at least at that point of time. And thirdly, because we find that we have a feedback system for the children, we send it to parents later on. How do you find it? And we get all this kind of, as much as possible, of a 360-degree feedback. So Google Forms are very useful, created by the school. We have IT coordinators sitting in every classroom. So they will immediately post the Google link for the children to give the feedback. And then we. So somebody asked the tool I'm using, we use Microsoft Teams for our school's online teaching, homework, and so on. Yes.
Ma'am, there's another question from the same. How effective are the exit slips? Deepa Nair from the audience wants to know.
Ma'am, it all depends on how you are designing that exit slip, because exit slips can have varieties of designs. You look at 3, 2, 1 and tell children, write 3 things you think you learned very well in the class, 2 things that you think were not very clear at all, 1 thing you want more information on. So we tell teachers, use something like a clear 3, 2, 1, make children write. Sometimes they stick post-its. They use colored, pencils or colored paper to show how many of you understood the topic, the red, the green, and the orange. They just hold it up. Even during the session of the class, she gets an immediate feedback. Okay, we know so many have got it, so many didn't. And that's the way, I think with 40 children, it happens easily, not an issue.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you, Mr. T. Prem Kumar, for those wonderful questions that you asked. And I'm sure
Yes,
a
sir.
lot from the
I
chat
should
box
thank
were
you.
asked. Dr. Jayman has unfortunately not been able to join us, the other panelist for today.
Okay.
So, he had a family emergency. So, ma'am, if you may permit, can I take up 1 or 2 questions from the chat box
Please, you may.
that the teachers want to know? Ma'am, one was, the question was related to the format you just shared. How often are you doing the observation in your classes? This question was asked by Miss Ajita.
Yes, ma'am. Every day, actually, I have a teacher, my IT coordinator, who actually works on allotment of observations. We have a WhatsApp group where teachers put up their online classes, because we have online classes and offline schedules also happening for children. So when teachers put up that tomorrow I'm planning to do all these online classes, this teacher allots the supervision, so that the teacher who's taking the class may not even know that somebody so-and-so is going to be her supervisor. Then she consolidates that and she gives it to me for taking a look. I can choose any teacher, any class, and enter the class in observation. This is on the online classes. But when it's offline or face-to-face, she prepares a similar template and she goes around and distributes a hard copy of that template of observation and the principal, and tells us whichever class you want. So there we enter at random. Nobody actually knows who will come in at what point in time. You cannot manipulate the class last minute, because we also share and discuss with the teacher what was their schedule for the day, the study schedule that they planned. All that is done, ma'am. And the daily plans that we do now are thoroughly checked by the school. If it is possible, I can even share that with you. Can I?
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah, I'll just show you what we do with the, 1 second, because I want to, as much as possible, try and see how I can share a lot of learning with you all. Sorry to hold the group up, but yeah. So if you can see my screen, it will be, let me see. I'm trying to.
Sorry, ma'am, nothing is visible.
Yeah, we can't
1
see
minute,
it.
1 minute, sir. I'm just trying to, because I have to get this, and then 1 second. 1 second, sir. Whatever technology we talk about, sir, unless and until, we, yeah.
Ma'am, this is something else actually.
Yeah. No, 1 second. Can you see this daily study plan
Yes,
of the
yes.
school?
Yes,
The
ma'am.
daily study plan. Visible, ma'am. Visible.
Yeah, this happened just about recently, right? Yesterday's. I'm just sharing what happened just yesterday because I have documents of all of the daily study plans. I'll show you how it happens. This is for class 3 mathematics. The teacher gives an overview. This is going offline, right? Which means it is being posted to children and they will do independent study at home. And we give clear ideas as to what to do. There is a guideline given to start with the super brain yoga, breathing exercise. Parents will help children to do it. We want children to calculate cost of different objects. That is the outcome for the day. And then the teacher begins all of this with instruction to the children. Find the cost, see the reflection that is happening. I can now find the cost of different objects, yes or no. And then she gives them experiential learning and says, try out this activity with the help of your parents. Take 5 objects, ask your mother to fix a price, display it, take 2, 3 out of the 5, find the cost, note down, check with your parent. So this is an activity that children will do experientially at home. Then we ask them to arrange all the shelves with the toy shop, make small bits of paper, make a toy tag. So I added in green font, you can see my add-on there. How can we care for our toys? What do you do when you outgrow your toys? We check toys with maths and the concept of cost. What do you do when you outgrow your toys? Do you donate it to somebody? Then we look into arts integration, draw a toy that you like to have, describe that toy, so the linguistics come in, give it a price tag, share this with your family, and then the assignment happens to the child. Lot of pictorial assignments will go. Then we every day have a reminder of the COVID. See the checking that happens on a plan. First, it is submitted by a teacher. It is checked by a subject coordinator. The grammar check, because we cannot expect math, science, and social teachers to have perfect grammar. So a quick check of grammar, and then it is cleared by a block coordinator. The principal finally endorses. It means it is running through so many hands, sir, because this is online. We had experience of parents saying there are grammatical errors, this error, we had to spend time. We appreciate teachers then and there. This is an internal use document, which you can see here. We ask the teacher to check the list. Have you given a value-based activity today? Used or not used? You use experiential learning, arts integration, storytelling, 21st century skills. So much is done in a daily plan for the teachers. This is one sample which I shared with you on the offline study plans that our children have every day. This is just yesterday's plan, one sample.
Wonderful, ma'am. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I mean, I'm sure today the participants are learning a lot. May I now request the participants, if they have any questions,
Sure.
they can raise their hands and we can unmute them and they can ask their questions also. So if
Yeah.
any participant has any questions, kindly raise your hand. We'll unmute you.
Yeah, somebody asked, can you share it? We do a lot of training for COE, Thiruvananthapuram. I do a lot of training through the
Ma'am, in the meantime, there is a participant, Sangeeta K, who wants to know, ma'am, can you please throw more light on how you are mapping the progress of the teachers?
Yes, I think I showed that in the career progression when I discussed it, that from the time the teacher enters the school, and I'm also working on the Singapore model, because I'm trying to see whether I can show my teacher the vision of what they want to be. I've not worked so much on that, but right now what I'm doing, and I want to talk very frankly on this, is to ensure that first teachers are settling down with children, where is their present status, through observation, right from the time the teacher applies for a job, comes to the school, irrespective of their qualification and background, they must do a demonstration class. And that demonstration class will decide exactly where to begin for the teacher. And once we begin, the track begins with the head of department who maintains orientation records for the teachers. And if at all they need additional support, they come to me and I have to make sure that every teacher is on a track of improvement all the time.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. I'm still waiting if there are any participants. Ma'am, you've explained it so beautifully. Participants, all the questions seem to have been answered. But if I can just take up one more from the chat
Sure.
box, Alka Saxena wants to know how teachers' performance are being measured through outcome of students or something else?
All of it, madam. We have the annual confidential report, which will actually throw a lot of light on various aspects of teachers. More or less, the Kendriya Vidyalayas have a beautiful annual confidential report format. And I have adapted that, not taken it straight, where I look at first the teacher fills in the basic data, but we look at the regularity of the teacher, the attendance of the teacher, unusual plans that the teacher has done, the training that the teacher has undergone for the year. What are the contributions of the teacher, not just to the class, but also to the school, to clubs. And then we take parental feedback about teachers when they come for open day. And all of this together will make that complete picture of the teacher. But to be very honest, we never allowed the increment of a teacher to be affected by the performance of a teacher. We try to find out what we can do to make the teacher do better. You know?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Ma'am, one last question that I'd like to quickly take up, ma'am.
Sure.
This is an observation, I think. Vandana Pandey says the class strength is a constraint for experiential learning. Ma'am, what is your take?
I don't think so, ma'am, because if we understand the spirit of experiential learning, we must understand that experiential learning is all about learning out of an experience. It's not simply an experience. And that clear distinction we do through our training programs, which we offer. I'm one of the manual developers for CBSE on experiential learning. We have to understand that everything we do is an experience. Right now, sitting in the session is an experience for me, experience for you. But experiential learning is creating an experience for children and then doing reflection. We typically follow the call cycle. So the teacher has to create a learning experience. You cannot distinguish between children when you create. If you're going to take them on an outdoor visit of the school, ask them all to come to your garden to observe all the leaves and ask them to sketch the patterns of the leaves. You take all the 40 on board, right? There's no question of one part coming for the experiential learning and one part not. And then you have a discussion then and there with children like, what do you observe about leaves? What can you comment about their patterns? What do you think? Why do you think leaves have different patterns? Any idea about it? And so on. Have the discussion then and there. All the 40 will, you can find them just bubbling with enthusiasm when you do experiential learning. But it has to be planned well. We must realize that experiential learning is different from an experience that we provide for our children. Learning out of the experience, ensuring that reflection is happening out of that experience for both the teacher and the students. And after the reflection and improvement that is happening in the plan, and then again tweaking it if required, is the essence of experiential learning. I don't think numbers matter. If at all, you can always get the help of a games teacher or a teacher who's free or the librarian to come and support you when you're doing this kind of class with experiential learning.
Very true, very true. Thank you so much, ma'am. Again and again, I want to say Vande Guru, ma'am. Thank you
Vande
so
Guru.
much.
Vande Guru.
At this point, I request all the participants to fill up the feedback form that has been posted in the chat box. Please note, this is a reminder that attendance and feedback of minimum 5 webinars of this series is compulsory to get your e-certificates. And a gentle reminder to our esteemed audience, please don't miss out on our next session by Ms. Madhulika Bhupatkar on equitable and inclusive education, learning for all on 20th February at 4:30 p.m. And once again, ma'am, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, but I think a formal vote of thanks. So I request Professor M. Abu Bakr to propose the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Good evening to everyone. We are blessed to hear.
Vande Guru, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Very clear.
Please proceed.
Today we are blessed with the two things, which we can say that today is like Vasanta Panchami,
Yes, sir.
and Vasanti Madam is taking the class.
Well said, sir.
So
well
Vande
said.
Guru to all.
Vande Guru, sir.
Karmanye
Really great
stu ma phaleshu kadachana.
Beautiful.
It's said that as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them.
Absolutely.
I'm here to present vote of thanks for today's webinar. I'd like to thank our guest speaker, Dr. Vasanti Tyagarajan, the Master Trainer, CBSE, and the principal of Shishya School, Chennai, for enlightening us with her knowledge on the topic teachers' service environment and culture, continuous professional development, career management, and progression. Madam, it was full of knowledge and interesting things. It gave us deep insights into the topic and also revealed some interesting facts.
Thank you.
The point where Mrs. Tyagarajan, Dr. Tyagarajan told us about every opportunity is an opportunity for learning.
Yes, sir.
Humanity has to come. Both students and teachers are gurus. We are here to serve the humanity, serve the children.
Yes, sir.
So was really informative. I'm pretty sure the precious knowledge that Mrs. Dr. Tyagarajan gave us definitely will help us in our studies and in future.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, once again from CEIR and also on behalf of everyone.
Thank you very much, Professor Abu Bakr.
Thank you,
all the
ma'am.
members of this organization. So
Thank
much of
you.
learning happens when we speak. I want to
Ma'am, your video is off. If not,
I want to thank Dr. Bindu Padmanabhan, who is my colleague at Hosur also, and well known to all of you, the Center of Educational Initiatives and Research Global Trust. That Bindu insisted on me coming into the program.
ma'am, can you switch on the video, please?
Dr. Vasanthi, we can't see
Oh,
you.
yes, I'm not.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sir, can I continue?
Please.
Please, Mr. Abu Bakr.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for everything. So gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to thank CEIR panel member, Mr. T. Prem Kumar, the principal, Indian Education School, Kuwait, and Zonal Director, CEIR, Kuwait, for taking out time for his busy schedule, and enlightening us with the knowledge. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Gratitude makes sense of your past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. Some people look for a beautiful place, but others make a place beautiful. Remember that not everyone has what it takes to be an event professional, because some can just see a space, whereas even profs see the potential. They create a great event from an empty room. Let me thank the moderator, Mrs. Pallavi Sharma, Principal, Mamta Modern Senior Secondary School, New Delhi, Zonal Director, CEIR, Delhi, for being the controller of the program, who meticulously arranged and made it a very successful one. Let us be grateful to people who make us happy. They are the charming gardeners who make our souls blossom. Board of Directors, Zonal Directors, Premium members, and also I thank all participants from all over the world who blessed this venture with their presence, and they are the ambassadors to make it reach each and every learner. I thank once again Dr. Vasanthi, Madam, once again to you. And today we are celebrating the great Vasanta Panchami.
Yes, sir.
Remember that Vasanthi Madam is with us on the day of Vasanta Panchami, and it is a double blessing for us. And thank you, Madam, and thank you for everyone. Thank you for everyone for giving me an opportunity to give vote of thanks. We are all blessed. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Professor
Thank you so
M.
much,
Abu
Professor.
Bakr.
Thanks.
So that was Professor M. Abu Bakr, Principal Scholars Indian School and the Zonal Director of Ras Al Khaimah. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's indeed, sir has, summed it up so beautifully.
No more
Dr.
comparison. It's the
Vasanthi
best
on Vasant
comparison.
Panchami. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
And of
Dr.
course, we wish all the educators here, all of them, a very happy Vasant Panchami. And ma'am, we can't thank you enough. You can read the chat box, and I'm sure you're seeing the wonderful messages that are flooding in to thank you, because when the teachers are feeling very motivated, and ma'am, what else are we looking for? If the teacher is
Absolutely.
motivated, the learners are going to be motivated. Thank you so much for being with us today, ma'am.
Thank
Vande
you.
Gurum, ma'am.
Vande Gurum Pallavi Sharma. Vande Gurum Bindu. I
Thank
want
you.
to
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
for
Because
giving
you
us
insisted,
wonderful-
Bindu, that I should do the session. So I came into the session thanks to Dr. Bindu.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Privileged
Thank
to
you.
meet all
It
of
was
you.
so enlightening.
Wonderful.
Excellent, excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent
Thank you,
session,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Excellent. Beautifully done, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you,
a lot.
Dr. Bindu, also for, such a wonderful person on board today.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.